Welcome to Archery Country Podcast. Welcome back to Archery Country Podcast. This is your host, Wade, as we are rocking and rolling here in Rogers' studio. Today, we are excited to talk to a bunch of dudes from Raw Frozen Scents, which is a new product that we brought into all of our stores. We have Nick Gardner on the line. We got Zach Swanson. We also have the owner and partner CEO of Raw Frozen Scents, Elam Lapp, in the house. And a lot of people right now, we're super excited. It's the rut. It's the sweet November. We've had a ton of success early season. We had a lot of success this last week from our Missouri guys, our Iowa guys. Wisconsin is starting to rock and roll. Minnesota's been super awesome.
South
Dakota's picking up. And we've had tremendous antler growth here in the Midwest because of all the mineral content and the rain. Super wet spring and bucks, putting on 15 to 20 inches. But today, we're not only selling you a product, but we're also selling you the idea of how to use a product and how scent can actually aid you and not hurt you. The first thing people say when they're in the whitetail woods is, okay, scent is a huge thing. Got to know the wind direction. I completely 100% agree. I wash down everything. I'm super adamant about my scent. If you're an Ozonics dude or scent lock dude or whatever it may be, right? But also there's certain periods of the whitetail season where you can use a scent, rather it be estrus or a scrape rage or anything on that fact that will up your odds tremendously. We personally have guys on the podcast today that live and breathe and eat this stuff. Not literally, but got it. And like Jack and I, we have some videos. We have some actual physical evidence that we can go. So we're going to start out with Elam Lapp, and he's the owner, the partner, and the CEO of Raw Frozen Scents. How you doing, Elam?
Hey, good guys. Nice to meet you. Excited to be on. Thanks for having us.
Heck yeah, man. We've had an exceptional receiving from all of our customers on your product. The stuff works. It's legit. If you wouldn't mind, take us down. I'm really intrigued about your farm and how you guys do stuff, and then we'll get into your products, and then we're going to break down the rut here in just a little bit. And Nick Gardner will be adding to this, and also Zach a little bit. But if you wouldn't mind, take us on that little ride a little bit, tour, I guess, audibly tour your facility.
Sure. Yeah. Well, that's awesome. I love when people have success with our product. That's what gets us up in the morning and gets us to just continue to innovate. So thank you for sharing that. So yeah, let's just take a ride into Pennsylvania. We're located central Pennsylvania, and we have 3 farms with 600 head of white-tailed deer that is exclusively for deer urine collection. So we do collect for multiple customers across the country. And Raw is one of those brands. Raw is our specialty brand that we take it from the deer and quickly freeze it and then ship it to customers across the country. So in our farms, like I said, we have 3 locations with 600 head of white-tailed deer. And within those 3 addresses, we have 5 premises. So I don't have to get too technical here, but it's all because of CWD. We're double fenced. We just have over-the-board biosecurity regulations that we do to keep CWD out, keep our herds free, on top of all the testing of the product we do before it goes out. So within the facilities, we collect this on, it's a very clean operation. We have people come in and say, wow, they had no idea that you could collect deer pee in such a clean operation. We do it with stainless steel pans, rubberized flooring, and high pressure washer, cleansing the pens, sanitizing. So all that goes in just to get that little 2-ounce bottle filled and shipped out the door.
So on the aspect of your deer herd, are you guys raising your animals? Are you purchasing animals? Like, that's an awful amount of deer. I assume there's a breeding program, or is it all not that?
Oh, yeah. No, we don't buy any deer. So we're closed herds, and that's because of CWD. We do not want to bring any deer in from anywhere just to protect our deer and protect our hunters that are buying our products. So it's 100% CWD free. So yes, we have a breeding program that is set up just to reproduce. If an average deer, lives to be 10 years old on our farms, we have a 10% mortality every year that we replace. So it keeps us hopping. We have farms set up just for that within our premises. So within the 3 locations, we have 5 premises, and that means just various different breeding programs to restock. We do laparoscopically AI, so artificial inseminate the deer with, we purchase semen from other bucks that have the lowest risk possible of, so it's basically, it's called less susceptible CWD prions. So meaning that they will be the less susceptible to ever get CWD. So the last 7 years, we've been breeding to have a herd that is actually almost impossible or less susceptible to ever get CWD if the prion would come into our farms.
And I suppose you guys have to be, that thorough. And a result is just an awesome product. As we kind of dive into some of your products, from your calming scent to your body blast, your estrus, the scrape rage, all of that, how did you guys formulate a plan, or how did this company come about? Did you're sitting around with some buddies and say, hey, this is kind of a market that's untouched, and we don't want to have preservatives, and we don't want to have added water. We just want legit stuff. How did that all come about?
Yeah, so I think it's just some of it's divine intervention and just being entrepreneurs. My dad grew up on a dairy farm, and being an entrepreneur, he soon figured out milking cows is maybe going to be a little boring for him the rest of his life. So he started looking at other ventures. He was an avid hunter, got some pet deer, ran into a deer farmer that was collecting deer pee, bought him out back in early 2000s. He had 20 head that he was collecting. So we built a farm that we thought, well, if we get 60 head, we built it for 60 head, why we'd be, we maybe never will max that out. And today we're at 600 heads. So that's kind of how that all started. And the formulations, just our goal was always to replicate that whitetail doe. And we've seen on the shelves, it's really hard to do. We went into freeze drying, into refrigeration, into preservatives, every method that we could find to keep those pheromones, how they smell when they come out of a deer. And it's just been a lifelong journey to continue improving and innovating the formulas and within the farm. We also have what we call our outdoor hunting lab. So that's our kind of our brand that Raw falls under. So all our products, we have a lab that we run them through and A/B test them with live deer in the pens. So we actually we'll take a set of, say the Raw certified peak estrus and set it beside some other products that are in the industry, whatever, and we test how many seconds, what the buck's response is to each product, and that's how we can tell in a live setting in our outdoor hunting lab how the products are performing and going against and how they're improving. So constant improving. It didn't happen overnight, and we're not there yet. So.
I love it, and we're gonna kind of roll down that as we're in, like we talked about in the intro, the heat of the rut, which air quotes if you guys can't see that. A lot of people are misled. A lot of people are YouTube junkies and whatever's on fire on the internet and whatever the big name hunter is using, right? So they'll go to your local Walmart or Fleet Farm or Runnings or whatever you guys have in the east or the south or the west, and they're just buying, I don't want to say junk, but they're not doing their research, right? And I think knowledge is the key. If you want to be the most successful at anything, knowledge is phenomenal. And if you can understand how an actual doe, like her ecology and how estrus works and how a buck reacts, I have to say, and this is not a sales pitch, but it's going to sound like one. I've used about everything that you could possibly imagine. Nick, you probably have as well. Zach, Elam, before, you've always had your hands on this stuff. Jack, you can attest to this. We've used everything.
Yep.
to actually,
I could probably put my kid through college.
I know it is like you think back and you go,
my life
just money leaving. But so I've been hunting the last 2 weeks pretty hard. We went down to Missouri and we had some good sits down there. And then Jack, you went to South Dakota on the opposite side. We kind of hunted in pairs here at the deal. So he went west, I went south, and then we both ended up in Minnesota, and we're like an hour and a half apart.
Yep.
But everything's kind of acting the same. I would use your estrus just like I have in the past, and it's probably wrong, but, having a wick, leaving a drag rag, and putting out just a little bit more than I probably should have. But there's some situations in the last couple of sits where I've had questionable wind, but our winds haven't been steady. They've been like 2 to 7 miles an hour, right? And rewind a week ago, like actually watching a whitetail buck, and not just a dink, not a 2-year-old or this. I mean, these are 4-year-old studs, 5-year-old studs. Rattled one in, got a little bit questioning because he didn't see what he heard. But then I watched his nose. He looked more like a Holstein bull, his nose in the air, and he could actually smell it, and he didn't question it. He absolutely just turned on a dime and walked in. And I'm like, oh my God, this stuff actually worked. Now, Jack, you have a couple situations rewind a month ago or so where we used the
scraper edge. Yep.
And you used it in a situation that I never thought you'd use it like, but on a dime, switched it on.
Yeah, I put it on the bottom of my boots just to cover my tracks, cutting through a slough. And I got up in my tree, and one of my target bucks was bedded, I would say 120 yards away from me. He got up, hit my tracks, and instead of smelling my boot tracks and kind of freaking out, he smelled my tracks, and he raked the nearest willow. It was pretty unreal.
So you guys, let's talk about your 30-plus peak estrus. All right, I could read the whole description of it, but I'm going to let you tell me about it. What is it? Why is it so unbelievably awesome? And kind of run us through that.
Sure. Yeah, that is the flagship product. That's what everybody, that's the large part of what gets used. So a great product to start on. Certified Peak Estrus has the highest levels of estrogen on the market. We have formalized that with our reproduction veterinarians, that it basically we take a synchronization program, like we would be bringing them into heat to breed them, artificially inseminate them, and then we collect it. And we have an independent lab that certifies that it has the 30-plus picograms per milliliter of estrogen in it, which is the highest level on the market. So that is, kind of in a nutshell, the simplicity of it. It just simply has the highest estrogen in it. And when you put it in a raw frozen sense product, it adds another level to keep those pheromones there as well. So within 2 to 3 days without freezing, the human nose can smell the difference. It doesn't mean that the product went bad. It just means it's less effective. And we believe that, there's better and there's best. So your unfrozen, your preservatives, peggable products, they're very effective. They can be, if they're collected right, preserved right, handled right, have the estrogen levels in, they can be effective. They may not attract your mature bucks like your frozen product. So then your frozen is your top level, top shelf, where it is fully preserved and indefinitely preserved in a freezer.
So we have a lot of guys that'll ask, like we're not salesmen, but we are salesmen, and we have this huge display here, a super nice freezer, and guys will ask, okay, guys and gals, yeah, where's your doe estrus? And then we get the opportunity, and we kind of perk up because it's something new to us. It's a new flavor. We can actually like sit here and talk about, and Nick has helped us a lot on, the verbiage on how to sell it. And you really don't have to sell it. You just got to explain it. How long, let me ask you this, okay? So we're in central Minnesota. You're in Pennsylvania. When Nick calls and orders that for us, and you guys, it actually comes packaged with frozen it's frozen inside, and it's all insulated, and we got freezer packs inside, and then we take it out of the box and we put it right back in our freezer. If I were to take a bottle and mark it number 1 at your facility, and it gets to how long is that process from your facility to my doorstep?
So when it comes out of the deer to your doorstep?
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, it can be within days, within weeks. And really the cool part about that is if it's frozen, it doesn't matter.
Right.
So that's the uniqueness of it. We can collect, freeze, ship it to an insulated cooler, ice packs, and it's like it just left the deer. It could have been a year ago, could have been a day ago, and it's like it just came out of that deer. And that's literally right there is what separates the raw frozen scents from unfrozen products.
So when it hits the tray from the deer, how long until you guys actually freeze it, or is it immediate?
It's within hours, yes.
So we have a customer that buys the 2 ounce peak estrus, right? And let's say that they're pretty conservative and they only use a little bit of, or they only got to sit a day or 2 on their hunt. Can they refreeze it, or is it meant to be used after it's unthawed?
Yes, they can refreeze it multiple times. We recommend not more than 4, but there's really no limit. I say it's better to be frozen than unfrozen. So, if you hit your 4 time freezing, just freeze it again. That's still better. It's basically when it's unfrozen is when the clock's ticking. So every hour, every day that goes by, it will slowly degrade. It's just like milk, a food product.
Yeah.
That will just slowly break down.
So give us a little what Elam does if you're out in the white. Let's say you booked a hunt in Kansas and you brought some of your product and it's this time of year. How are you using it?
Yeah. Well, I get all excited if you talk about Kansas. We get to hunt PA, so Kansas is like dreamland to me. No, I love PA too. We have some big buck here. We just got to be patient. So Kansas, so definitely the 30 plus peak estrus. That's my number 1 go-to this time of the year. I will take make a drag, spray it on my boots, and just drag it into my stand. When I get 20 yards from my stand, I will kick up fresh dirt. And this is one of the key things. So just remember, drag, drip, and disappear. So drag it into your stand, make it a drip. Basically, we're saying make a scrape, hang the wick on a branch if you can. And if there's no close branches, like don't stomp all over the woods, just get to your stand without making a mess. So if you can, kick up dirt 20 yards from your stand, pour another ounce right in the dirt. If you can't hang a wick on the branch, that's okay. Just get in your stand. When you get up to your stand, I like the calming scent, and I would just spray it from my stand every 30 minutes. I just like to spray it and just make that cloud around me that is a natural smelling. It covers them. It does an unbelievable job. And I know a buck, can walk into McDonald's and smell the bun and the burger, and he can dissect that. And so can he in the woods with human scent. But if you have showered, you're playing the wind, you can potentially fool him, even a mature buck, in making him think that you're at 300 yards when you're at 40 yards. So again, it's that getting that such good smelling that it overpowers any of the little bit of human scent that may be left there.
That's perfect. If you're using a decoy, a buck decoy versus a doe decoy, or both, like, you're not going to put estrus on the buck decoy, or are you going to put it around, or are you going to go back to your, like your buck scent or multi-buck scent? What would you do in that situation?
Yeah, so my next best one that a lot of hunters, I think, miss is the buck. So multi-buck urine. I really like that. And, most people are hunting the mature deer, the dominant buck in that area. Everybody wants to shoot him. So if you are, I would recommend using the buck urine as a challenge. It's very similar to turkey hunting. You know how decoys are so effective. The first thing the strutter does is goes, knocks out the jakes or the strutter, then he goes breeds his hen.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what the same with the bucks. They have to get that intruder out of the area. So I sometimes have seen it where the buck is almost more effective than the peak estrus because he wants to come in there and they're so dominant. They just want to wipe him out and then they'll seek the doe. So I would definitely use buck on every hunt as well. And with that, I would just pour another ounce, 2 ounces in the scrape that I made before I got in my stand. And on the use of it, what some hunters have been taught in the past is, just use a couple squirts. If you use too much, you're going to scare them. And this may sound like a sales pitch, but a deer urinates 6 to 8 ounces per sitting. So
Really?
You can use as much as you want if it's a natural product without, all kinds of additives in it.
Yeah.
And it's actually only going to be more effective.
And I can attest
your budget. And
I can attest to that because, I was of the camp of, I got this 2 ounce bottle, you got to make it last the whole season. That was the way I was brought up. And, after talking to these guys this spring and getting our education on dopey, I've started using it quite a bit more liberally with a lot more success. It always used to be, and I'll put it out just in case, it's not going to hurt me. And now that I'm using, 2 to 3 ounces at a crack, you can see a big improvement in deer movement with it. So,
well, in a great situation, like just for an example, not on the bragging board, but my youngest niece, just shot a super nice 140-inch 8-pointer, like picturesque. And he ran a little bit. Now, this was shot with a shotgun. And this was November, what was Saturday, 2nd? Or 9th, sorry. So, shot him. We waited an hour. Went awesome blood, found the buck, right? And as 41 years old and had enough seasons under my belt, like you recognize that crisp smell that, and some people are not used to it, kind of gag. But a buck absolutely reeks this time of year.
Yeah.
And I don't think people understand, like, their noses, however many times, and maybe Elam, you can tell us this a fact, but a deer's nose is their number one. And they, like, if you can smell it 20, 30 feet away from a buck, imagine what another buck or a doe can smell, downwind 50, 60, 100 yards.
Yeah. Yes, sir. Yeah, it's hundreds times stronger. Depends who you ask, but
Right.
it could be thousands times stronger. They're very, very powerful. It's their number one sense. And for sure, the older the deer gets, the harder it is to fool them. And that's where we started getting so excited, quite a bit of years ago when we started seeing the adult buck, mature deer that are getting shot with this scent. That wasn't so in the past. It was more your 1 to 2 year olds that 80% of the hunters were shooting. It started flipping, and the big bucks started coming out of the woods. It was like, okay, something's working.
Right.
So have you guys tested, like, when it is, if it's ever too early or versus, like, too late, like, as far as timing? Like, some of these scents, could you put out in, like, could you get a mock scrape going with the multi-buck in August, or are we too early?
Yeah, you can definitely scrape year round. There's some areas where deer will scrape year round. They'll have a family scrape, whatever you call it, just a lone scrape. And they're urinating year round, obviously. So I am not concerned that you're going to hurt anything, and put it in drippers, whatever your scrape application is. is very effective to start taking inventory in August of your deer.
Tell us a little bit about the Body Blast.
Sure. So the Body Blast is similar to the certified peak estrus, the raw, whereas it comes from does in their peak heat, and the wick actually lives with the does for a amount of time and soaks up the additional pheromones that they're giving off the heat of their body. So you're getting the urine, the fecal, and the body heat pheromones off of those does versus the liquid is the deer urine.
Yeah, I always kind of wonder. I mean, you can read the label, and it's descriptive, and it's a cool package, and we've had some guys with success on that. I just didn't really understand. You think Body Blast, but that's a pretty good breakdown. And we talked a little bit about the calming scent. That's one product that we didn't have available this year, but I guarantee we have it next year. A lot of us have discovered other brands in the past, but that's something that you can use anytime. It's your deer. It's a calming mechanism because it smells like a deer, and that's what you're basically trying to blend into. We haven't. Go ahead.
Just pour some out of your tree. I take it on every hunt. Again, it's your cover scent. Some people are like ozone. Some people do scent lock, and that's all good. This is my ozone and scent lock calming scent. I believe by being scent free, showering, washing your clothes, and then having that powerful cover scent that's an all natural in the woods is one of your best ways to hide.
Yeah, the way I always look at it, Wade, is, the deer are going to win 99 times out of 100. But as you can add layers of protection against your scent, it's just going to help. So, take your showers, do all that, and then just add this as another buffer between you and the deer.
Absolutely. And we talk, I know we're kind of like in the zone right now when we got this podcast, and it'll be released tomorrow. Today's Wednesday. It'll be out, maybe even this afternoon. But if you rewind, I have some questions, and I'm going to hit you guys pretty hard on this, and everybody can add to it. So we run a tremendous amount of cameras. We have 3 different farms that we're hunting. We're blessed with that opportunity. We're trying to get intel, from June when antler development is kind of peaking and they can kind of see what's going on. July, obviously, August, we got an idea of our target bucks. But we have noticed, in some areas in Minnesota, you can set up like a mineral site or a corn pile to get inventory. This is early season, not during season. But we've also noticed that we can get a really, really good inventory or intel on the bucks in the area. Not saying that we're hunting over scrapes, but we're making some mock scrapes, or we're finding that community scrape and we're freshening it up. The scrape lure that you guys have, like that can be a very good product. My question is, how long do you use it? You kind of answered this already, that you can use a community scrape all year long. But hanging a camera over a scrape safely and then freshening up your scrape, is that something that we do a lot, or is it just early season? Or what is a deer? What does a buck think when he sees a scrape or makes a scrape? Is it just an aggression deal, or is it a collective who has been by, who has visited this? What is a scrape, and how do you use the scrape lure?
Sure. I think I believe scrapes, and again, I hunt mostly in Pennsylvania, and I think each state is different, so I'll answer for Pennsylvania. They're different in a similar way. Pennsylvania, scraping in the mountains, I look at it, it's their Facebook of the deer woods, really. They check in, that's where they check their posts, and I'm on Facebook, so I can't even speak to all that, but they check their messages and see who's new and who's in the neighborhood. I believe that deer know everybody in their block. They know the different smell of each deer. And I could go into that, quite lengthily. on some various scenarios that we've seen. But that's where I think scrapes come in. And every deer that's gone through the woods, they're set up. The deer have naturally put them at places where they're crossing, and other deer will pass through, urinate, leave their scent, lick the branch, and it's their way of keeping tabs on that. So I think with the scrape lure, again, has been designed to bring, it's a new deer. There's a new deer in the area, and when they get close to that scrape, they want to come right in to get that full nose smell and try to define, do I know this deer? Have I smelled it 2 years ago? Is it a doe? Is it a buck? Things like that. That's how I believe that scrapes are used and why they're so effective. To refresh them, how often? I don't have a set answer. Again, it's all in the area you're hunting, how hard it's to get into them. If you do it once a month in front of a camera just to get that inventory and get a refresh, get a close draw of the deer, you want to be careful you don't burn your areas out. I'm more concerned about burning areas out than I am taking inventory. So that's my 2 cents of scrapes.
I'm a little bit embarrassed that the Facebook analogy hit so hard, because every day, and Instagram as well, social media content, TikTok, blah, blah, blah. Like, yeah, a friend request. So I click on them, I make sure they're legit. You know what I mean? If they're not, I decline, and then I get mad, So it's like, okay, yeah, I get it. It's a social platform for a whitetail deer. I got to ask some questions about your farm, because I'm super intrigued. Like, I would love to come tour this facility. I don't even know if you guys have this out there yet or not, but like, so obviously do you have bucks? I know you said you AI and you buy semen, but do you have bucks?
Oh yeah. Yeah. We have a large herd of bucks. Yeah. We had a 400-inch deer this year. So I'd love to show them to you sometime.
It's so crazy. Like, do they act? I mean, like all of our deer around here, like I assume that because you're doing artificial insemination, they're not breeding, the does, but do they get swelled up? Do they act stupid? Do they go around and scrape and rub on your post and do all that stuff?
Oh, they're crazy. They're absolutely crazy. And they get crazier into like November 20th. And that's another whole other story, how if you really want to time your hunt around when bucks are the craziest, there's 2 times that we do, and that is November 1st to the 4th, Halloween to the 4th, right before does start coming into heat. So the mature bucks are seeking. They're running everywhere. They're starting to get really anxious for that first doe. Then they find them. And in Pennsylvania, we have so many does, they just kind of walk from one to the next. They don't really have to go crazy and run for 2 weeks. And then they come out of that, say November 14th, 15th, whatever that magic day is, they start losing their does, and it starts building up again, and they just go crazy. So, and that's kind of what we see around here. As the end winds down and they're done breeding, like they've been breeding for 2 weeks, and they don't know how to stop, and they will do anything to get another doe. So yeah, we just had, it's sad, but we just had one get killed overnight. We had 2 bucks together, and we try not to. This time of the year, we've cut most of their antlers, but these 2, there was a reason we didn't, and they were together. Usually when you only have 2 together, they don't kill each other because they're just fighting and their antlers are in front of them. It's when you have 3 and the third one comes in and gets them T-bones.
Mm-hmm.
But somehow this aggressive one got the best of the other one and killed him. So that's how, they're absolutely as crazy as the wild deer are.
And do you notice, like, some of the telltale signs that we have, you go back to people who research and talk to people that have deer farms, and then people that have been unbelievably successful, hours and hours and hours. Like, a pretty good sign for us is when you're sitting in over a food plot that's a very comfortable situation, very low pressure farm, and you'll have 2 or 3 button bucks come out, and then another 2 or 3, and then some other fawns, and like for the first hour all you have is fawns. That's a pretty good sign, as far as my knowledge goes, that you are in kind of the lockdown phase. The mature does are, in estrus, and they're getting bred, and they're paired up. But as soon as that 80% of your deer herd is bred, that's when we actually can see, we call them bonus bucks, deer that you haven't had on camera all year because their range is now opening up a little bit further. And you might have the neighbors or a section or two down the road that bucks are starting to appear. Do you agree with that?
Yes. Yeah, 100%. Yep.
So a lot of, there's the situation in Minnesota, and we could go on for hours about this, is our gun season is in the incredibly wrong time of the year. Our gun season is right during when it shouldn't be. But whatever, we can't ever change that.
That's crazy.
So a lot of guys and gals will get defeated. So like where I hunt, the end of the season is going to be Sunday or Tuesday. I think it's Sunday. And then they're like, oh, well, everything was locked down. Didn't see, I seen one good shooter in the morning running at 300 yards, and I didn't see anything else in that. But actually, that should inspire you for the next 2 weeks, like he's saying, till Thanksgiving, the 21st, around in there, when you need to put your butt in the stand. You need to be available and plan according to that. Now, can we still use the raw frozen scents in this situation after let's say the peak breeding of 80% of our doe herd is done? Can we still use that?
Oh, I would definitely. That would still be my number one all the way through January. You'll have does. Again, it's all percentages, but you could have does come in every week from November 1st to January. So these bucks are sniffing it out with less aggression as the season progresses, but that's still their number one smell. And we have does in Pennsylvania that get bred in January according to the spotted fawns on our trail camera surveys when they're born. So yes, that proves that they're breeding those next couple months. And I would use the same method on every hunt. Well, I do. When it comes into rifle and late archery for Pennsylvania, I'll use the same method with the straight buck estrus as I do in first weeks in November.
It's intriguing that you say that. I have one other question, and then we'll kind of do like a recap of all this. But as I'm going to call you a deer farmer, but a producer of a product that you're involved with deer all the time, will a fawn born in April, if she reaches 80 pounds plus, will she come into estrus yet this season? Or is something else have to happen for that?
No, we only know what we know in our high fence. We'll have up to 50% of our doe fawns breed naturally their first at 6 months old, 7 months old.
It's crazy.
And I say 6, 7 months old. I mean like the end of that year, like maybe November, December time frame, they would breed. And in the wild, they're actually, it's the same. We see the same weight on the fawns in the wild. So I believe those percentages hold the same in the wild.
So it's not over. We still got opportunity. That's what we're saying. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about Outdoor Hunting Lab. And you guys have an incredible social media platform. For those of you that are listening that are on social media, you need to subscribe, go through all of their stuff. We have 4 locations with Archery Country, Brainerd, Waite Park, which is in St. Cloud. We have right here in Rogers, which is northwest corner of the Twin Cities, and then La Crosse, Wisconsin. These products are in the shop. They're limited, but they're in the shop. But we also, you guys have an exceptional website where they can get a package deal. They can go on there. If your local pro shop is out, you don't have to wait 4 or 5 weeks. And Elam, you can correct me, Nick also as well. Like, this stuff is available and it's always being harvested. There's not 10 does that they took this stuff from back in November 1st. Is you have an exceptional amount of deer. Never heard of a deer farm this big, but an exceptional amount of deer. So everything is always happening. And then the biggest question that I know somebody right now is going, well, doe only comes into estrus once a year, blah, 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 blah. But you have to take into consideration when you can control your variables. What's the photo word? Elam help me out on this. When a doe has to do with light, the photo eye, the photo
period.
Yeah, the photo light.
Yeah. So that's what's controlling when a deer doesn't wear a Garmin watch, doesn't have an iPhone, right? It's going off of daylight, and its body is programmed to do this. But you guys can manipulate that on different sections of your herd, correct?
Absolutely, yeah. We have that, what we call a synchronization program. So we actually run each deer through our handling facility and with our proprietary program to bring them into a full-blown heat any time of the year. We can do that with our synchronization program. So we don't have to wait till November 1st. We can collect the peak estrus, certify it, that it has the 30-plus picograms per milliliter of estrogen in it any time of the year, and get it out to our customers as fresh that day.
I think it's just an exceptional product. We're super excited. Like, we get to see Gidgets and Gadgets all year long, right? And Nick, you can attest to this because you rep a lot of the companies there. From now until February, we get to see a lot of stuff. When you find something that actually works, that actually aids in your success, which can actually give you a step up on one of the toughest animals in the entire world to harvest, mature bucks, you just got to get excited, man. If you're an outdoor enthusiast, if you're a hunter, like, you just have to love this stuff. We got the peak estrus in, we got the body blast in. There's some other stuff that you can get on raw frozen scents. Just, you can type in raw frozen scents on Google or outdoorhuntinglab.com. All this stuff is available. It works. It's the real deal. Stop in any of our locations for any information on this. Next year, 2025, we'll have the entire program, from the calming to the estrus, of course, the scrape, the body blast. We also will have, we didn't talk about your pickwick, but we're going to have the products that you can find online. We'll have them in the stores. I guarantee you Nick will help me get that done. But Elam, this was, we're going to keep it short today on the podcast, but everybody's got stuff to do and everybody's hunting. I know a couple of you guys are headed out after this. But is there anything else, Elam or Nick, that you guys want to add?
No, I think for me, just being a part of it's really fun, just to have something unique and different. As soon as I saw the frozen estrus, I was like, no one's really done this. So, as far as on a scale like these guys are doing. So it's pretty cool, and it's definitely going to help people out in the woods, which we wouldn't be in this industry if that wasn't our goal anyways. So.
Yeah, you guys are top notch.
I'm the same. Again, yeah, we appreciate you guys, and all you hunters out there, you just be safe and wish you God's blessings and a successful season.
Absolutely. On behalf of Jack, this is Wade, Nick, Zach. I know we didn't talk to you a whole bunch, but we appreciate everything. Zach is actually our national sales manager. He's here in the Midwest. He can help out with a bunch of stuff as well. Elam, I'm sure that we will talk to you in the future, but on behalf of everybody at Archery Country, we'll see you on down the road.
Thank you for listening to Archery Country Podcast.